Howdy y'all, TheJTJ here at RollToWound.com. We're continuing our deep dive into the Soulblight Gravelords battle tome. We're looking at the Warscrolls today, Prince Vhordrai, and a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. So, let's get ready to roll. Alright, we have Prince Vhordrai up first. He is the named character, the named vampire that rides the zombie dragon. Let's look at his Warscroll. First off, his move. His move is 14 inches, and that is based on a damage table, so that will diminish over time. 14 wounds, which is very good. 3 plus save, very good. And 10 bravery, which we see mostly throughout this book. His weapons are a blood lance, 2-inch range, 4 attacks, 3 to wound, 3 to hit, -2, 2 damage. Snapping Maul, which is the zombie dragon's attack. 3 inches, 3 attacks, 4, 3, -2, d6. Sword-like claws, 2 inches. Attacks are based off of the profile, which starts at 7, 4, 3, -1, and 2 damage. All in all on paper, very, very killing. So we're going to push down to his damage table. The 14-inch move is solid. We'll talk about the Breath of Shaiish, which is the zombie dragon's breath attack. His is slightly different than your normal zombie dragon. And his sword-like claws. All of these will diminish, of course. Description. Prince Vhordrai is a named character that is a single model. He is armed with a blood lance. If this model is included in a Soulblight Gravelords army with the Castelli Dynasty lineage keyword, this model is treated as a general in addition. You'll see this a lot throughout these Warscrolls. There are generals in addition, and that's really good in 3.0 because there's things your general can do, auras that they spread out. Their bubbles are a little bit bigger. There's rolling for your command points, denying your enemy killing your general. There's all sorts of things like that. Vhordrai can fly. He's mounted on a zombie dragon. Alright, so when we're looking at abilities, he has the Hunger. At the end of combat phase, if any models were slain by wounds inflicted by this model's attack, you can heal up to D3. The Hunger is pretty much, you'll see that on a lot of Vampire Warscrolls. Chalice of Blood. This is an old, all the zombie dragons, Vampire Lord on zombie dragons used to have this on their Warscroll. Once per battle, you're going to heal D6. He's the only one that has it left. So you're going to heal D6 once per game. You're going to get your D3 every turn from killing. Also, in 3rd edition, you can use his hero ability to roll under his leadership and heal an additional D3. So technically, in one turn, you could get back 9 wounds from him. That's a pretty big swing, and he's already a 3+ armor save. All right, so here is his Blood Lance charge. Add 2 to the damage characteristic of this model's Blood Lance and improve the rend characteristic of this weapon by 1 for this model made a charge. So it's +2 damage, +1 rend. Look at his Blood Lance. That'll go to -3 rend, 4 damage. Super good. Super good. And you're already hitting on 3s and wounding on 3s, so all-out attack on that. Breath of Shaiish is the shooting attack from the zombie dragon. In your shooting phase, pick one enemy unit within 9 of this model invisible to them. On a 3-up, that unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the Breath of Shaiish value. So at top 2 profiles, they're taking D6 mortal wounds on a 3-up. Not bad. Magic. Prince Vhordrai is a wizard. He can attempt to cast 1 spell and unbind 1. His signature spell is Quick Blood. Quick Blood has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by this caster into your next hero phase. So you're adding 1 to hit with this one. That works for all these profiles because there's some things like artifacts that don't work on mounts. This spell will add to hits, so he should be hitting on 2s, and the zombie dragon will be hitting on 3s. Command ability. Use this command ability once per turn in your hero phase. Pick one other friendly Soulblight Gravelord hero that is wholly within 12, and that model is within 3 of an enemy unit that hero can fight. So there's a bubble. He really wants you to take another hero to go in there and fight. Vhordrai Lord is a really good idea. If you're running another zombie dragon or vampire lord on zombie dragon, that's super good. Those are your ones you're going to get the most mileage out of this. If somehow you manage to build a list with him and Nagash in it, then Nagash would be the one you'd want to target with this. Really good command ability. All right, let's look at the keywords: Death, Vampire, Soulblight Gravelords, Castelli Dynasty, Zombie Dragon, Monster, Hero, Wizard, and Prince Vhordrai. All in all, this is your name character. It's a pretty good Warscroll all in all. So let's keep checking out what we got. So he's coming in at 455 points. It's about a quarter of your army. So if you're taking him, you got to take him with intent and purpose and know what you're doing. He is a Castelli Dynasty, so they really want you to take him with the other Blood Knights and take him in that dynasty. Keep in mind, you don't have to take him in that dynasty. You can take him in other dynasties. He doesn't get the benefit of that bloodline if he's in that dynasty. And he's a zombie dragon, so anything that's going to affect that zombie dragons would also work on him. And Vhordrai Dynasty, you don't get the abilities because he's not able to take the abilities from that dynasty, but if there's anything that buffs monsters or anything like that, he would count for that. All right, so let's look at what the difference is, and I've sort of broke these two down differently than I have for the rest of these because their weapon spikes, their blood lances spikes on the charge. So his max wound output raw, if everything went perfect and he hit with everything and wounded with everything and rolled all the max amount, is 40. So that's a pretty good, that's a lot of wounds going through. And on the charge, he caps out at 48. So 8 extra damage on the charge. Now, of course, you got to keep in mind, this is perfect scenario. Average damage, he's going to do about 9, and on the charge, he's going to do about 14. And the reason that number is such a big difference is because that rend goes from -2 to -3 for damage. But keep in mind too, guys, all-out attacks, his spell, these are just raw. This is with no buffs or benefits. So if you have other buffs or benefits that you can add to him, those numbers are going to go up. So just keep in mind that's sort of what you would see normally, not buffed. Very good damage output on the charge. Good versus heroes or large units. I think he's good either way. You can run him to a blob, or you can, he has the capability to go toe to toe with the biggest and best in the game. He's survivable, and he can dish out the wounds. The good, one of the best frontline fighters in the book, can heal with Chalice and Hunger. He's good save, maybe even a great save. Spells make him very reliable in close combat. Fist of Nagash is very good. Running with Neferata and put Shade Mist on it, or the Dark Mist, so he's unrendable. It's pretty good. The bad, he's 25% of your armies, so you just have to build around him and know that. Fist of Nagash needs another costly hero unit to be super effective, so you're going to have to you'll have to be in the right scenario to use it. You're going to have your list tailored around it, and I don't know if that's optimum at times, but if you get in a situation where you've got another killy hero fighting in the hero phase, it's super good. 20 points more than a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. You get possibly better breath weapon and a very good command ability. However, you lose some of the customization and versatility of a regular Vampire Lord. So that's really the swing what you're looking at. If you're set on running someone in a dynasty, you have certain command traits, you have an idea of what you want to use. Well, Prince Vhordrai is coming stock. This is what you're getting. However, if he is a little bit more, I think he's better on paper than a regular zombie dragon. Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. However, when you're looking at command abilities, artifacts, things like that, maybe you want to go the other direction. So just depends on what you're trying to do. He hits hard. He's hard to heal. He's great in cast out, but also effective in other bloodlines. I don't think he's an auto include in every list, but I think if you're taking a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, you need to take 5 minutes and look and say, do I want to run the Prince or do I want to run stock? Quick Blood. Quick Blood is a B+, average casting, self only. So getting that casting off might be a problem. It does increase your hits. I think it's a good spell. There's nothing wrong with it except it's self only. Casting might be a problem. You can't depend on it every time, but solid spell. Unit rating, A-. Very good option to add some punch to your list. So like I said, I think that it's one of the hideous or punchiest things in the book. If you really said, hey, I want to take a quarter of my list, I want to invest it in the Prince, let him go in and take out or take on the most worrisome thing in the enemy army, I think he's got a good chance of doing it, unless you're running into Kragnos or like Archaon, that level of stuff. He's not really going to go toe to toe really awesome with him. He can, but pretty much anything else, he can run it and stab it. All right, switching over to the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, VLOZD. So if you ever see any of my articles, that's always the way I refer to it. Very similar to the Prince, building on the same platform. There's just a couple of differences. Move, 14 inches, 14 wounds, 3 up save, 10 bravery. His Pestilential Breath is a shooting attack now, and it's not like the Prince's where it's just in the profile and sort of an auto. It's 9-inch range, 1 attack, 3 to hit. The wound is right here under the damage table, which is a 2 up at full, -3 rend and d6 damage. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get down the description. Deathlance, Snapping Maw, and Swordlight Claws are all the same as the Prince. The only difference here is you can take it with a Vampiric Sword. You're getting an extra attack, and you're getting more spiky damage. Now, used to in 2nd edition and prior in Legions of Nagash, I liked the sword better. Now you're going to run it with a Deathlance, and we get down to the description, you'll see why. But Deathlance is the way to go. The damage is a little bit more consistent and less swingy, and when it spikes really hard. So run it with a Deathlance. My opinion. If you don't agree with that, let me know why in the comments. All right, damage table, just like the other ones. His move's going to diminish, his Pestilent Breath's going to get harder to wound, and his Swordlight Claws, the number of attacks go down. A Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is a single model armed with one of the following weapons: Deathlance or Vampiric Sword, so you do have to pick. You don't get both of those guys. Zombie Dragon attacks with Pestilential Breath, Snapping Maw, and Swordlight Claws. He can fly. All right, so let's look at the breath weapon ability. When you attack with his model's Pestilential Breath, roll a dice before making a hit roll for the attack. If the roll is less than or equal to the number of models in the target unit, the attack scores a hit without needing to make a hit roll. It's kind of important here, guys. There's a couple things going on. This is a roll before a hit roll. So whoever you target, even if it's a single model, you could still roll a 1 and auto hit them. And the other reason this is important is because you're not minusing the hit, okay? So there's a lot of debuffs out there for minus to hit and different things. This sort of doesn't even deal with that if you can roll lower than their unit. So basically, if there's 7 models in their unit, or I'm sorry, 6 models in the unit, you don't even have to roll the hit. You just say, hey, this is auto hitting. And if the opponent wants you to, then of course you can roll it, but really you're auto hitting at 6 models. So keep that in mind. It's not necessarily a regular to hit. Now, if you fail that roll, say that you're targeting a single unit or a single model unit, and you don't roll a 1, you roll like a 3, you will still get to do your hit roll after that. And then if you fail that, then the sequence ends. He has the hunger like every other vampire, so if he kills a model, he's going to heal D3 wounds. Now, here's why we take the Deathlance over the sword. Death Lance charge. Add 2 to the damage characteristic of this model's Death Lance and improve the rend characteristic of that weapon by 1 if this model made a charge move. Now, yes, it can be argued if you're stuck in combat, the extra attack and the spikiness here is going to go above. But honestly, 2 damage and -1 rend, it's so good. And you hope to be charging more than once. You want to pick your target, you want to charge in, you want to kill it. Magic, he can cast 1 and dispel 1. And Curse of Exsanguination. Curse of Exsanguination has a casting value of 6. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster invisible to them. That unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If that mortal wound is allocated to a model in that unit and not negated, that model is not slain by the mortal wound, you can roll a dice on a 4+, that model suffers 1 mortal wound. Keep rolling in this way until either no mortal wounds are inflicted, or the mortal wounds are negated, or the model is slain. So it's a casting value of 6. Not bad, less than average. 18 inches, good range. And basically you're wanting to pick out, you want to pick out an enemy hero or that doesn't have an after save. That way it's all on your dice roll. And it's a 4-up. It's almost like rolling craps. If you can just keep hitting that 4-up, you could do 20 wounds on something if they don't have an after save, if it's just them sitting there taking it. So I like the spell. I don't think you can count on it to do a lot sometimes, but I like the spell. Keywords: Death, Vampire, Soulblight Gravelord, Zombie Dragon, Monster, Hero, Wizard, Vampire, Lord. Alright, so let's switch over and sort of look at what the VLOZD's got going on. Costs 435, so coming in a little bit under the Prince and not quite a quarter of your army. He's a Vampire Lord, Zombie Dragon, so you get the monsters. You get, if you're running in Vhordrai Dynasty, Zombie Dragon, all those keywords. Sword or Lance option, take the Lance. My opinion, once again, if you don't agree, tell me why. But let's look at the damage table. Now, I only ran this for the Lance. I did not run this for the sword. And I broke it down into 2 portions like I did the Prince. One is just the regular wound output, and one is on charge. Remember, this is max perfect scenario wound output, 38. On the charge is 44. Average, so the max is 38 and 44. The average is 8 and 11. A little bit less than the Prince. However, keep in mind, all out attack, different spells, different buffs. If you have Nagash on the board and he's rerolling once, those numbers are, the average numbers are going to go up. So the other thing to look at is he's doing, he should be doing over 8 wounds, but these are swingy rolls. And if you get him caught up and tied up and he doesn't do enough, he's going to be stuck in combat. Very good damage output on the charge. Good versus heroes or large units. Many artifacts and trait can increase this. So when you're really building your Vampire Lord, that's what you want to do. You want to increase either his survivability or his damage output, because you're taking him, he's your heavy hitter. Zombies and skeletons, they can put out some wounds, but you're taking a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon to be a heavy hitter, to go toe-to-toe with the enemy's big guys. All right, the good frontline fighter, one of the most versatile units in the book because of the enhancements you can take, artifacts, command traits, things like that. This is where you're going to want to be putting them. Signature spell can one-shot a unit, in theory. Practice, probably not. The bad, he is pricey. Way better damage on the charge, and he kind of needs enhancements to sort of reach his full potential. You will see many lists that run Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragons. Like, it's a staple. You're probably going to, most Soulblights are either going to run a Zombie Dragon or they're going to run a Martark. It's just, you're going to see a lot of them when you see Soulblights opponents out there. Get ready to see one of these guys. One of the few heroes in hero units that is viable in any bloodline. So he can go Vhordrai, Knight, anything you want to run them in, they can work in there. One of the few effective shooting attacks in the book, so D6, not bad. It tends to hit. It tends to hit most of the time. Does not need support, but when supported becomes a scary unit. So you can take your Vampire Lord and have them on a flank. You can have them just go by themselves, or maybe go with 10 Dire Wolves off to a side to do something, and be reasonably comfortable that they're going to be able to hold their own and live. But if you stick them in the middle of your force, you support them with spells and other overlapping abilities, that's when they become really, really scary. Curse of Exsanguination. It's an A, below average casting cost. Is a plus. On average, you would do 1 mortal wound. However, if your dice get hot, you can kill anything. I probably should have had 2 grades on this, like an A plus for when it works, and probably like an F for when it never works. And it's probably the way it always happens with me. But it's the potential there to change a game, and it's already built in, so you got it. I don't know. Unit rating is an A. It's a very good Warscroll, when we're looking at Soulblight in general. So I think it's just an all-around good Warscroll to pick from. Well, that's going to do it for the Warscroll review of Prince Vhordrai and Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. I appreciate y'all watching, and y'all be good.